So hi guys, it's Billy here from BDH, Racing Hardware. As many of you know, my old man Dave, he's obviously the founder of BDH. And we're also welcoming a special guest here from Menfulness. His name's Jack. But he tells us a little bit about Menfulness to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Jack. I'm one of the co-founders of Menfulness and now a trustee. Menfulness started quite a while ago. Is it Yorkie Dads? It was called. It was a place where guys could get together to chat and mainly moan about being absolutely exhausted and eating bacon sandwiches. And that just grew into something else. I think guys came along and felt like it was a safe space where they could talk and open up and really vent about life pressures. And we had lots of things with dad and daughter hair school. We had football. We had a Lego club and loads of different places where guys could go. But other guys wanted to join who weren't dads, and we were just like, oh, okay. But they wanted to be with all of us. So we felt, you know what, we needed something else here.
Yeah.
And Menfulness was born into this community that's far beyond anything that we ever expected. But yeah, immensely proud, and it makes me proud to be with you boys as well.
No, well, proud to have you here, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just basically, we wanted to get Jack in and Menfulness because, as many of you know, BDH was started from poor mental health during COVID. By this man here.
Yeah, it's prior to the lockdown, I'd gone through sort of 5-6 years of mental health issues, and I'm not going to bore you to death. Yeah, I started. I had basically a burnout, mental breakdown in 2014, and went back to work after 3 months, probably too soon, and it all just caved in and came to a big head 18 months later. And subsequently I became suicidal, and then at that point I realised I needed help, because I had my big boy pants on, and I could beat this myself, I'm not wrong with me, it's everybody else, all them sort of things. And I realised at that point that I really needed some help, so I reached out and got involved with a company, a charity, Sunshine Changing Lanes. I attended their groups and I became fascinated, and I could tell it was making me better. I got on very well with Carl, who ran those groups. He was the main man. And up to the point where I actually did 2 rounds of the groups just so that I could hammer everything in. And then Carl asked me if I wanted to train up as a facilitator with him, which I grabbed. And I learned a lot from that, and I enjoyed doing it. Then COVID came along and everything stopped but I was in a good place. I'd managed to get myself back into a good place, or fairly good place. And basically, when COVID happened, all those naysayers, all those guys who told me to man up and pull my socks up and all the rest of it, because I was being a big girl's blouse type thing, they were actually ringing me and saying, how do you cope? Because they were isolated, just like I was. And that gave me massive boost that these guys were now saying, I can't cope, and asking me for help. So I did that, and then I was chatting to one of my mates one night, Gary Evans, and he was a sim racer like myself, and we were talking about shifters, and he said, why don't you get in your shed and build us one? He says, you've got the brains and the machines. And so I said, yeah, all right, I will do. And I went in the shed, and a few days later I produced this little knockabout thing just to prove the concept. And then I produced the first H1 bazooka shifter, gave it to Gary. 2 days later, he put a picture of it online, and 2 days later he was begging me to open a Facebook page for the shifter because his inbox was just overflowing with people from all over. So that's where BDH started. So, and I suppose my personal message to anybody who sees this and is wondering is just never give up hope. Never ever give up hope. just keep going. This too will pass. So yeah, and here we are today, 5 years on. We're by no means a Donald Trump style company, millions of pounds, but we're doing all right. We're making a living. We've got a few guys working for us now. Everybody's happy. So yeah, guys, never ever give up hope. There's always something, always.
So during COVID, I wasn't struggling too much. I did have a few issues personally, but nothing sort of like I experienced a couple of years later. I was really low myself, my self-esteem, my motivation. There was a few times where I had suicidal thoughts, things like that. But then I sort of reached out to the doctors, and they put me forward for a social prescriber, and then in turn I ended up coming to Menfulness. I knew Chris Vesey anyway from playing football with him, and I sort of spoke to him and said, "Look, Chris, what's the crack? How do I go about coming to these sessions?" And he just said, "Look, just come down. I'll meet you outside." So I did, and yeah, I mean, Menfulness has helped me massively. Like it's changed my outlook on mental health, life, families, people, just everything in life. It's just changed everything about how I see things, and that's not just due to the events. It's mostly due to the talking groups that happen on the first Monday of every month. And yeah, that sort of leads me into introducing Menfulness and the events that we're going to be holding for them. So once a month, we're going to be doing a race night for Menfulness, and it's basically just we have 6 drivers, and anybody's welcome to come down and just have a laugh, have a race, and tea, coffee, just get out of that headspace, that day-to-day life, and just come and enjoy, have fun. Just have fun, do something different. There's nothing else like what we've got here around York or anywhere close really that I know of.
Pretty unique, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty niche thing that we do. So we just thought, right, well, mental health is a massive part of our business, of our lives,
absolutely.
of everything.
Yeah.
So it's just like help guys out, give them somewhere safe to just come and play. Have fun, have a chat, have a brew, offload. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Just come and have a laugh. Yeah. It's a big part of us and who we are, and how the business started.
I think personally what Menfulness offers, from what I do know of it, I don't know a right lot, but from my own experience in mixed groups, obviously as a facilitator of that, even as a participant, there's ladies present, so you want to say things, but you can't. You feel like you're going to frighten them, and it has happened where I've been in, facilitating a group where a guy with serious anger issues was in the same group as a very, very timid girl.
Yeah.
And he sort of expressed how he felt, and she bolted because it frightened her. Whereas Menfulness, I think, because it's all guys, and I'm not saying anything, I'm not trying to be misogynistic or anything. There's plenty of women groups out there, and rightly so. But I think what Menfulness offers around here is that unique, right? I'm with the boys.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys, their issues are with partners, women, girls, mothers. So having that space where there's no female input, I think that has massive value.
I think so. I think you're right. I think Menfulness has grown into we're really good at responding to needs in terms of what the guys want, and putting on events that actually talking. We know that it's our straplines don't know how to speak up, but we also do know that not every guy wants to do that, and it fills them with actual dread of like being able to kind of like. And although we've had 500 guys, that's where all our fundraising goes to counselling, and we have our talking group. We also know that we need to create different events and different places just to be with other people. And the talking might come or it might never come.
Yeah.
And so we have an allotment group, we have a walking group, we've got running groups, we've got exercise class, we've got boxing, and now we've got this night. This night it allows people to come along and just be with others. And the badge Menfulness gives people permission, if they want to speak they can do.
Yeah.
And just realising and hearing from others that you're not alone.
Yes.
And even just being with you guys and listen to your story, not very similar to mine.
Yeah.
And to kind of go, it gives me goosebumps to even listen to your story. And it also kind of makes me well up to kind of go, whew, I'm not on my own with those feelings.
No,
you know,
no.
and learning from each other. And like we mentioned, it becomes other people's survival guides.
Of
Kind of
course
go,
it does, yeah.
geez, Dave and Billy, what they created, and you see them. Whoa, like you're saying, we're off to Silverstone, we're flying over to Germany, and you hear all these stories. You're like, wow, that's really cool. But actually, the journey and where you've been, and what you've learned, and what you've created, it's part of your DNA to help and support others.
Absolutely.
This. I don't think we had a choice with this. This is something that Billy was like, no, we're doing it. I want it. Menfulness has been such an important part of me, and that gives me immense pride and joy to kind of go, wow, and straight away making friends on such a. I've had friends 20, 30 years, and I've never talked to them like I've talked to guys like yourselves, like on this sofa.
Yeah.
And
there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And that's what being part of a mental health group teaches you. It's, as you say, your slogan, don't man, speak up, and that's brilliant. It's just simple, straightforward genius. Because that's the problem. Male bravado, testosterone fueled. I mean, I actually went to a doctor when I was about 19 years old and said, I don't feel right. I didn't know I had mental health issues. I've had them all my life, as I found out later, or certainly since I was about 13 years old. I had a trauma in my life at that age, and that was the turning point.
Right.
And I went to a doctor when I was about 19, 20-year-old, and he literally told me, just pull your socks up and get on with it, man up.
Yeah.
That's what a doctor said to me when I was 19. Well, things have changed in the last 40 years. And I think it's for the better. I mean, I don't care. People can mock me all they want. Big girls blouse, talk about that. But I'm here, I'm alive. I've created this on the back of getting the right help and being among guys like yourselves. Just talking like, wow, it's okay to be not okay.
Yeah.
Massive message. It is okay to be not okay. And like I said, always have that hope. Hang on to that hope. And just get help. Talk about it.
And that journey that both of you have had and where we are now, we just see the end product. We go, we see these simulators, we see the stuff that you're doing, but which is important for everybody to know. There's massive turning points for you guys, which you remember. You remember that turning point where you spoke to the doctor. Yeah. You remember that turning point when somebody gave you hope and kind of go, no, I see a lot in you, Dave. Can you facilitate these courses?
Exactly, yeah.
You remember those moments when you came to that
self-worth
talk
and
group,
value.
and then you started, so Billy is always the first person, when I'm facilitating, I'm like, oh, who's going to speak here? And there might be new people.
Yeah.
Billy's the first man we go to. We go, Billy, have you got anything? Because he will speak up, and his journey with us, there's key people, and we all have these turning points, and I suppose for people out there to realise, everybody will have these moments, and it's so common. It's 1 in 5 of us will have suicidal ideation. We all have that feeling. It's a very common feeling.
Absolutely,
but like you saying that this too shall pass, and we will get through this, and realising you're not alone. The more we talk about it, it's the only way we can prevent it. To kind of for people to go, oh, okay, and hopefully people watching this will kind of go, oh, wow, okay. Because all we see in the media, on socials, is people who right, they're up there. Oh, look how successful you're at that comparison. But what you're doing is very different and deliberately so, and people will resonate with that.
Absolutely,
Go, well, they've been through it, and now look.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's going to be people out there that go, well, it's all right for you to say that because you're all right now.
Yeah.
And that they need to go back one, don't they, and think, well, how did he get there?
Yeah.
Because, I set off to end it. That's how close I got. Without going into great detail, but I didn't carry it out. But I was determined. That was it. I would do letters written, everything, and then turned around and got rid of all it and thought, I do need some help here. So that was a turning point. But sharing to keep. I mean, it's still important to me. I mean, at the moment, I'm a successful business owner, and I'm in a really good place. Probably the best place I've been in many years. Probably all my life.
Wow.
But I still have to keep reminding myself, I still have to visit that past.
Yeah.
Because I still trigger. Things still trigger me. I still have them same anger issues. I still have them same anxieties, the stress. I've still got it. But the difference is I've learned coping mechanisms and strategies. And because I can recognise those feelings and sensations coming earlier than they used to, I don't pop.
Yeah.
I'll sit back. I do a lot of I used to do a lot of meditation.
Yeah.
In fact, that's how we found the trauma, through a meditation and a life regression.
Wow.
Went back and found that point that kicked me and turned me. And then going forward from that, you realise that mistake, I did this, I should have done that and that. And it was massive. It was absolutely huge to me. But now in this position, I've gone off on tangent again.
No. I love your tangents, Dave. I'm with you.
The position that I'm in now, it wasn't gifted. It's been fucking hard work for 5 years, night and day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But the driver was that finally that hope that I always held on, or nearly gave up, but held on to, that's kicked in. I've seen something good. It's working. My self-worth, value, everything, and not just for me, but for Billy, for our family, for the guys working above us, for everybody, and obviously for anybody watching this who's going to come and have a race in these simulators that are just behind this window. It's all about hope, and it's sharing to keep. Like I say, I have to keep in touch with myself, my own thoughts, feelings. I recognise things. I remove myself from situations that I know are going to turn toxic.
God.
I just get out. I reckon I've been here before. I know where this goes. So reverse, go down the next street. Don't walk down that one, there's a big fucking hole, and I'm going in it again. And I know how to recognise that. So by sharing to keep, getting involved, I probably won't be able to, but I'm quite happy to if people want to talk to me about my story. I ain't bothered, please just get in touch. Because if it's going to help one person, I don't mind, I'll talk all day long.
And like you mentioned there, like when you said, like people will say, well, what you got to worry about?
Yeah.
And that's really fascinating, because what actually we want everybody to be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So when people when I do workshops and stuff, some people will be like, well, you know what, I'm all right. And actually, you're just as important in this conversation.
Absolutely.
Why are you all right? Because other people aren't. What are you doing? And then when you delve a little bit deeper, it's like, well, what do you do? Is it every morning, 7 o'clock? And it can be really simple.
Yeah.
7 o'clock, I take your dog for a walk. One guy even said, 5 o'clock every evening, I always have dinner with my wife.
Yeah.
And like you're talking there, and those coping mechanisms, that's really important for other people's, as we say, it's other people's survival guide. Well, Dave does this.
Yeah.
He recognises that fact, and he makes a conscious decision to kind of prevent him from getting to where he's going.
Yeah.
And I think everybody needs to be part of the conversation, and it's fascinating hearing your journey and your learning. And we always say what we would tell our younger selves. So what would you tell that 19-year-old now?
Exactly.
Won't
be pull your socks up.
Yeah, you wouldn't be pull your socks up. Yeah. Incredible.
No, it's a lot of the training that I did was about not just the psychological stuff, but the physiologicals. Like, I've been here before, how do I feel? Oh, I've got that tingling thing and my adrenaline's pumping.
Yeah.
You know? And one of the big things I learned was, because when I first started doing the groups, I still had a lot of that testosterone bravado and watching, shield around me, I'm actually a man, putting my head above but I'm still a man.
Yeah.
I might be breaking down in tears and feeling like hanging myself every 5 minutes, but I'm still a man.
Yeah.
I puff my chest out, I'm frightened of nothing. And I remember saying that in one of the groups, I'm frightened of nothing and nobody. And Carl, the facilitator, said, you are, it's all fear. All fear. Oh, not me. No way, me Tarzan. And a few weeks later, the light bulb went on and bang, it is fear. It's all fear. Everything is fear. Why do you go to work? Because you're frightened you can't pay your bills. You're frightened you're going to lose your house. What does that do to you? It makes you stressed. It gives you stress. So that gives you anxiety. That gives you anger. Another thing that was important to me was, and everybody says it, I go from 0 to 10 just like that. My fuse is that big. But there's between 0 and 10, there's 9 other steps.
Yeah. So
as you train and you realise those 9 other steps, usually around about in the middle of there, 5 or 6, once you know the physiological, I know what happens here, that cork's staying in, I'm going over there, exit Dave. Just remove yourself and remove toxic people out of your life. And I'm massive on that. Recognising the toxicity that people bring to the party that would then work you, and your physiological stuff starts going, it gets a bit fizzy, and then your head's, I know this, I'm going. There is a poem by a woman called Portia something. It's worth looking up and reading. It's about walking down a street and falling in a hole. Simple as that, but it's so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful. Portia Nelson, I think. Yeah. And look it up. It's immense. Just simple. It's not reading books about psychology and it's just a simple piece of writing, literature. It's a few sentences long. But when you look at the meaning, it has so much power. And it gives you such a lesson in life. And it basically is about walking down a street that you do every normal, and there's a hole. You try to avoid it, you fall in. Eventually you get out, so you go home. You go out, you see that street, there's an hole, but you still go down it, boom, you fall in again. And each time it gets deeper and you scramble to get out. And eventually the penny drops and you think, I ain't walking down there, I'm off down the next fucking street because there's no hole.
Yeah.
And that is a simple thing in life. Change the way you do things. Changes the way you feel, changes how you behave, which therefore it changes the way people perceive you.
So
if you're an angry person, you'll always be an angry person until you change that lane.
Yeah.
Hence the name of the group that I used to facilitate for, Sunshine Changing Lanes.
See.
It's about changing the path, changing what you do changes everything.
And this learning that you've taken on board, and you seem like a sponge in terms of the knowledge for that.
It fascinates me. It's
But that wouldn't have, if you weren't taking that on, you wouldn't be where you are now.
No, absolutely not.
It's so.
And I have to when I come out my door, I have to make sure I walk down the right road.
Yeah.
Because we're autonomous, aren't we? We're creatures of habit.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's so easy to walk out the door and turn left and left again instead of turning left, skipping a left and then the next left to the good path.
Yeah.
We're autonomous, and sometimes your mind's elsewhere and away you go, and there's the danger signs coming. But as I say, you train and the physiological signs, recognising dopamine, this is good, from the toxicity, the adrenaline rushes and the glazed eyes and the hair on end hackles up, I'm going to fight, and then of course your fight or flight system and all the rest of it. I mean, there's so much to learn, but there's not a lot to learn.
Yeah.
It's simple, and we were big on, I'm big on these simple sayings, and one of my favourite sayings is, I wish to become a product of my thoughts, not my circumstances.
Interesting, yeah.
And that way, you're in control of where you go. Your destiny is right here in your hands and in your head. But if you start just behaving like a lemming, or as I think the Facebook term is, sheeple.
Yeah.
Follow the crowd. You're going nowhere. You've got to break that habit. You've got to think differently. You know?
And what you've done is learning what has worked for you and then what hasn't worked.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's actually fairly simple, but actually purposely making that choice and going on that path every day.
Yeah.
Is that what you do every
Yeah.
day? So you just
Yeah,
come
yeah.
into work.
Yeah.
You know which path was right for you. You know which works for you for your
Yeah.
mental health, and you've been
Yeah.
purposely, a bit like I suppose Billy, purposely going, like religiously coming to this group. Even though actually you're in a much better place than you've ever been, actually preventing you getting down there and knowing what works for you and making that conscious decision, which you both have been doing.
Yeah.
So actually, because like when you listen to it, you're like, whoa, this is. But you both been making conscious decisions to.
We
to
mentor
take
each
care
other.
of.
We bounce
Yeah,
off each
it's
other.
amazing.
You know,
Yeah.
we can. Billy will say to me, this, that, and the other, and I'll say, well, okay, try this, try that. And then maybe he's passed some of that on to the guys at Menfulness, which I hope so.
Yeah.
And I hope it's helped them.
It
Because
certainly has.
this stuff isn't precious.
No.
This is for giving away. This is for making people better. This is, you see in the world now, there's everybody, even in my lifetime, I've seen the speed of life has changed so much.
Yeah. And do you think generational? And I do think it is changing, and you are seeing that. But I do see some guys who don't have that role model.
Yeah.
And somebody to kind of go, oh, actually, you can. In fact, is encouraged for you to like be you, to really be you and how you're feeling. And that must be immense for you to kind of have that. Like we're all learning together because not
absolutely.
all of us have that.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating and wonderful to see because other people kind of go, oh, actually, my dad can do it.
Yeah.
Then I can do it.
I mean, I've spoke to loads of people through the groups, and like varying in age. I think the youngest lad I spoke to was 18, I think, in one of the groups, and he was struggling. Obviously, I'm not going to go into his situation, but he was really struggling.
Yeah.
And I spoke to him for 10 minutes after one of the sessions, and I got home. Bearing in mind it's like a 15-20 minute drive for me. I got home and I had a voice note off him, 10 minutes long. I was like, oh, what's this?
Oh, yeah.
And obviously straight away I thought the worst. I was like, oh no. And since that day on, he was just saying, oh, thank you so much, but since that day on, he's messaged me at least 3 times a week, just letting me know how he is, asking how I am, asking how business is, asking how family are. He's become a good friend. I'm not going to say his name, but yeah, he's become a really good friend. And yeah, it's just nice because he was in a situation where he was really struggling and at the bottom, shall we say.
Yeah.
But he's picked himself up, and some of that stuff that you've taught me, I spoke to him about. And yeah, it's really helped him. It's really helped him sort of get on top of things a little bit.
A massive turning point for him.
Oh, massive.
That you're giving him.
I mean, I don't do it for the glory and everything. I don't talk to people for the glory. I don't reach out to them for the glory. It's to know that they're okay.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Exactly.
I've been to the bottom.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone else being there.
Yeah.
It's a horrible
You
place.
just
to be.
feel like you've done well by people.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing for me, from my life previous to mental health issue, or my life previous to becoming engaged in groups, was I'm this type of person, and I don't like that type of person. I don't like that type of person. You do my head in. People like you do my head in, and we're always judgmental.
Yeah.
But I think once you get into groups of mental health, because you're all there for a similar reason, there is that immediate equality. We're all here for the same reason,
Yeah.
And as you get to talk and know different people from different backgrounds and all walks of life, I think that just makes you such a better person and gives you more just a bigger evaluation of life.
Yeah.
And you realise that we are all the same, all of us. And everybody in that group is there for the same reason. So the chances that somebody else has experienced the same you've experienced are very high, you know.
Yeah.
And eventually, you know, you do it a few times, right, yeah, he's been through the same as me, but he's a bit further on than me, I'm going to ask him. And that confidence begins to come in, and all of a sudden you're talking to people, and you're like, whoa, I would never have spoken to this person before. I just walked past them, you know, they're a weirdo. That time. We label people, don't we?
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, it's, that's the beauty of it, you know, your eyes are open, your ears are open, you know. And that's something else. I mean, that's a simple thing I always say to people. We've had it this weekend, you know, family, and you're trying to get a message, say to somebody, explain something, and they're too busy gobbling back at you.
Yeah.
I always say to them, the Lord give you 2 of these and 1 of these for a reason.
Yeah, yeah.
When somebody else is using this, you use them, and you'll learn twice as much.
Yeah.
You'll learn. But if you've got that open when somebody who's trying to teach you something's got theirs open, you're going to learn nothing, and you're going to walk round and fall in that same hole.
And really interesting you saying that, because I'm learning so much from you, and like I'm taking it all in. And I think there's pauses in this video where I'm like, oh, whoa! Like, there's like so many moments of like, oh, whoa! Gee, let me digest this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, mental health we know doesn't discriminate, and that's
We used to do an exercise in the groups called personal icebergs, and I'm not saying it was unique to us. We didn't design it, or I certainly didn't. But I had a knack of developing it, and Carl used to say to me, "Right, you're up." And I used to do it, and for the life of me, I can't remember the exact terms. But basically, you draw a triangle, and 3 lines. Divide that triangle into 3, and we always drew a blue line between the top 2 sections, and the rest was whatever, black, whatever. And I think it was. We used to ask about feelings. What's a feeling? What's a behaviour? What's a, you know? And we'd write all these things down and put them in the right place. And we knew what was coming. Obviously, the participants didn't, or certainly if it was the first time they did it. So by the time we'd finished, you'd have this chart with, you know, anger, you know, happiness, feelings, and needs. That was it. Needs, feelings, and behaviour. So, you know, there's your feelings. So what do I need? You know, I'm angry. What do I need? You need to chill the fuck out. You know, you know, I'm hungry. What do I do? Eat. I need food.
Yeah.
And it's about learning what you need from how you feel and what you're thinking. And a lot of people don't know. It's surprising how people don't recognise that. Your body's telling you something.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you need to stop that feeling, particularly if it's a bad one.
Yeah.
But we do this, but anyway, the point, I'm off on a tangent again.
No, I love your tangents.
Right. So you've got your thoughts and feelings, and you've got your needs, and then you've got your behaviour. And the simple thing is, that blue line, it represents the water level. Okay? So all this shit's going on under here. Your thoughts, your feelings, your needs, your anger, your anxieties, and all the rest of it. No, nobody sees that.
Yeah.
Because what you display is above the waterline. So by meeting these needs through those feelings and recognising feelings and meeting those needs, your behaviour changes.
Yeah, above the water.
Above the water. So 2/3 of you
Yeah.
is you. It's in here. Nobody sees it.
Yeah, yeah.
That last third is what people see. So if you're feeling angry because you need a fag
yeah, yeah.
or whatever, and you're kicking off, that's what people see, and that's what they judge you on. If that's what they're seeing, that's when they say, "He's a fucking idiot, him."
Yeah, yeah. And they're not seeing what's going on underneath.
But the amount of people who don't realise that, you know, those feelings mean something.
Yeah.
You know, those thoughts are coming. Why are those thoughts coming? Because that's a reaction. And that's the big thing. That's another big thing about anger management. You know, what happened? He made me fucking angry. How? Because he, whatever. So he made you angry. Yeah. No, you made yourself angry. Your anger is a reaction to his behaviour. It's your reactor.
Yeah.
So instead of getting angry, if you think he's a dick, just laugh at him and walk away. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody has the right to make you angry. I mean, anybody will admit that. But what you've got to admit is that person isn't making you angry. That television show isn't making you angry. It's your reaction to that. You can control that. They can't control you. They're not mind benders. It's your reaction. Everything is your reaction.
Yeah.
And that's massive. You think, oh yeah, it is. I'm a dickhead because I reacted to that dickhead.
Yeah. And all this learning.
So you change your path, you change your lane.
Yeah.
I ain't walking down there anymore. I'm not going to listen to him anymore. Or if we do, I'm just going to laugh it off.
What's going to happen now, Dave? I'm going to follow you home and follow your lanes. Just gonna be like, right, what's he? Oh, he's gone to the Shell garage. What are you eating there, Dave? We're following you home.
Pork pies.
Yeah, pork pies. Is the way
Honestly,
forward.
it's, you know, Carl, bless him, we had a bit of a fallout during COVID, me and Carl. And I miss him.
No.
I do miss him. You know, he was a good friend. He tried everything. I mean, he's not well himself. This is the beauty. There's another beauty for me. When I first started to get help, it was from a clinical. You know, go and see a whatever.
Yeah.
Now, no disrespect to those guys. They've worked hard. They've got the names, degrees, letters after the names, and all that. But they've learned everything out of a textbook.
Yeah, yeah.
When you learn something like this from somebody who has lived experience, and you can see their success, it's real.
Yeah.
The coping strategies are real. The first time I went for help, they sent me to Biltham Hospital to a bloke there. He was a nurse, a psychological nurse or whatever. And again, no disrespect to the guy, he's got his career and all the rest of it. And he started talking about stress buckets. And anybody who's been, you know, what happens to a bucket when you fill it up? Well, it overflows. So you drill some holes in it so it doesn't overflow. Fucking hell, you're talking to an engineer, mate, not a 3-year-old. That was my reaction.
Yeah, yeah.
And it didn't help me. I mean, bless him, he was a lovely guy, and he tried and tried and tried with all these, and it just didn't help. I felt patronised, condescended to. There was no thought to who I am,
Yeah.
how thick I might be, how intelligent I might be,
Yeah.
what I like, what I don't like. It was just textbook. Read that. Okay. But when I met Carl and his groups, Carl was just a real life person.
Yeah.
He told his story. He'd been in prison, he'd lived on the streets, all sorts. Alcoholism, drug addiction. And he was real. He was real.
No, Carl.
And he bounced back and he learned all this stuff and he created this formula of sunshine changing lanes. You know, and in all honesty, what he created there far exceeds anything we'll ever create here.
Wow.
Because the amount of people that went through that, those groups and the different stages and come out alive
Yeah.
through what Carl created. But unfortunately, I've lost touch with him.
Yeah.
We had a bit of a fallout and I lost touch with him. But I know if he ever sees this, you know, thank you, mate.
Yeah.
This is down to you.
Well, Carl, you've heard the message from Dave, so yeah, our love goes out to you, mate, and do get in touch. We'd like to see you down at one of the races, mate.
I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him again.
Yeah.
You know, he was a good guy, really, really good guy.
Yeah.
You know, and taught me a lot, didn't he? Yeah, I did lost touch with him.
So yeah, there we are, guys. So that's sort of BDH and a bit of Menfulness. Jack's just going to cover a little bit more again about sort of Menfulness, the things that they can offer, things like that. But the most important message that I want to put across is the hardest step is always the first step in asking for help. Speak. That is the hardest step of all. Sounds cliche, sounds silly, but in my experience, that was the hardest point.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you'd probably concur with that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It says,
Yeah.
don't man up.
Don't man up, speak up.
yeah, that is our strapline. Don't man up, speak up. Menfulness has had a journey, quite like all of us, really, and it's something that we're immensely proud of. There's lots of different things that we offer, but I think the main thing, the DNA running through it, that you you don't have to face all your problems alone. And we can't solve all your problems, but absolutely you don't have to face them alone. And knowing that you aren't alone in all of our events, that's the main thing. To realise, like we've touched upon here, in the talk group, there'll be guys suddenly there who will be like, there was a guy who came who was really struggling with caring for his mum and suddenly becoming a carer. And then I realised within that talk group that there was actually 2 other guys who had exactly the same experience, and I went, well, you can talk to me about it, but I know the perfect guys who can put you in
I
touch.
said about being in a group, there's always somebody with similar, if not the same
Exactly. Yeah,
circumstances, and you can bounce off each other and share the load.
Yeah, and there's always somebody that you can learn from, just
Absolutely.
like I've learned from you guys today, or like your coping mechanisms and what you do to kind of stay in your lane, as you quite eloquently put it. We do realise with Menfulness that although our strapline is "Don't man up, speak up," we also understand that it's not for everybody. Some people they might get there eventually, but some people it's just not for them. So we've had all of our fundraising is for our counselling. We realise that statutory services are struggling, and we get guys to talk, and then there might be that 1 in 10 who's really struggling, and they just like they're in a place where they can't get help from statutory services. So that's where our counselling, that's where all of our fundraise goes to. So over 500 guys have access to counselling, often at crisis point, and they're able to get that within 2 weeks. But like I said, we do realise that counselling and our talking group isn't for everyone, and to create different events for different people at different places is really important. Just like the event that Billy and Dave are going to put on this race night, a place where you can just be. If you want to talk, you can. But then hopefully we're going to be adding this event to our menu. So we have a menu of different offerings for different people at different stages. So if you're back at home at the moment going, you know what, I just don't think I can get to any of the events just yet. I might be able to get there. And like Billy and Dave said, it's often the first point is getting over that hurdle. But if you just want to hear what we're about, if you just want to see it online, go onto our YouTube channel, go and have a listen to our podcast and listen to other people around the area who might have been going what you're going through. So our menu, very cleverly done. We've got special, which is our counselling, our starter, which is Menfulness podcasts and the WhatsApp group, the online stuff. We have a vegan option, which is our allotment group. We have our mains, which is Menfulness nights, talk group, and the boardroom. So we have a gaming night as well. We have a walk and talk, our healthy options, a social football, running club, boxing club, rally together. We've got the sweet treats, which is a Pretty Plat's hair school for dads and daughters to do hair. Got all of our merch and our takeaways as well. What we say about the takeaways is the testimonials. Listen to other people's stories and what you'll take away. I've certainly taken away a lot from just listening to you guys. And every time, a bit like maybe I shouldn't be the one that's talking about the gym, but when you do go to gym, you always feel better. And these guys will just come in here. You might have felt, I don't really know Dave. I know Billy. And you go, you only feel better from talking and opening up and hearing other people's stories and realising that you're not alone. We couldn't do it on our own. All our ambassadors, our volunteers like these guys, but there's 4 other guys who've made Menfulness happen, and then my good friends and our fellow trustees who work tirelessly as volunteers to make this happen. So Matty, Sam, Mike and Dan, a big shout out to you as well. We couldn't do it together. We couldn't do it on our own, and so another shout out to any partners out there that want to be part of Menfulness and to see something in that, either through fundraising, sponsorship, whatever. We're all ears. We know that we want to be the largest men's mental health charity in the North, and we really believe that we're onto something here. It's having an impact and making a difference. So shout out to anybody out there. I suppose before we go, this little trophy. So go on to our our meetup page for all of our events, Menfulness. So meetup.com, Menfulness, and you can see our events. And then you could be maybe one of the proud owners of the first ever Menfulness trophy when they're going to be having race nights here. And we're so excited and chuffed.
I was going to say, if you can't go to the gym, then, you think, oh no, the gym's too much for me. Believe me, once you've done 10 laps around Northside from one of them, it's one of the best workouts you'll ever have.
Yeah. There's a lot of shaking in that.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. So, like these boys say, it's always a first step, and that step might be different for you. That might step just be kind of making a conscious decision to make a difference. Like this morning, I'm gonna have a shower and I'm gonna go for a walk. Tomorrow, I'm gonna listen to the podcast. The next day, I'm gonna go to the talk group. The next day after that, I might come along to the racing with these guys. Just make those steps, and we'll be here with you. So don't man up, speak up. It's been a pleasure, guys.
Yeah,
Really.
you too. Thank you very much,
Yeah,
mate.
pleasure,
Thank you
Pleasure.
for coming in.
Yeah,
Look forward to the future.
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. Cheers, guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care. And remember,
Go
don't
well,
man up,
people. Go
speak
well.
up.
Yeah.